welcome back. Here we are again. Hi, guys. Woo,
Howdy.
Friday, the 24th of April. Another glorious Friday, busy week. We have today in the studio, Kevin, as always.
Guys.
We have Mr. Secondary Propeller Head. And then we have Sam.
Yeah, I'm here, but I just seen the Florida wind blowing right now. I can't see my camera. For some reason, my camera's not working.
Well,
Used it three
you got
times.
a nice
Kevin's a
background.
pleasant picture to leave us with, though.
Well, I figured it's nice. It keeps it peaceful when it's 5 o'clock, and you would see a beer in my hand, but you can't see it.
Well, Sam, we'll just imagine. We'll imagine. But there's something weird, though, because if we can see your background, that means your camera's on.
Yeah, I know, but it's what's weird is I can't, like, my face ain't showing up. So I don't know, maybe my background's messed up or something. I don't know. I got my
I
little
don't
light,
know.
my ringy
That's
weird
interesting.
No,
Your camera shutter may be closed.
yeah.
light.
If I shut my camera shutter, yeah. See,
Yeah,
that
there's
too.
a piece of tape over you have that privacy thing on your camera.
I don't. I wanted to actually opens and closes.
John's propeller head number one. Greg, he got elevated.
Congratulations, John.
Something good. End of the month finally came.
All right. Well, hey, let's start off with we'll dive in. What's anything new today in the copier world? And Art's going to join us in a couple minutes, but I think I don't, unless you guys have anything going on in the copy world, I wouldn't expect you. But I think I had something. What is it? The 21st, 4th. I got nothing. Let's think. Well, if you want to, I'll be a little bit selfish. I do have a heck of a lot. There is a lot going on in the robot world and the copy world in the backstage, and it's coming forefront. I mean, we can talk about it later as we get going, but the copy world is kind of on even standing right now. Although I will say this, in LinkedIn, there have been more and more non-copy. I've seen at least 2 articles, maybe in the last 7 to 10 days, that came from outside the industry talking about paper usage declining, which was, and I've expected to be a copier rep or someone like that. It's a very ancillary secondary market. I don't want to mean secondary, but it's adjacent, but it is in our market. Although you two would probably like this, I am seeing more and more about the scanned AI thing, and that's what I'm calling it now, scanned AI. I think, Kevin,
Yeah.
you're all over that. Someone was talking about, boy, you guys probably know them. I forget who they were, but they're talking about how scanning now is how you can not train your AI, but it's now scan the paper documents so that your AI can eat it. And what we've been talking about for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I saw someone else say it. I think they were in the DocMan digital workflow. So, but interesting, right, guys? Because you know.
I'll make a little
when we start
commentary
talking
about that, Greg,
Yeah.
and then I'll ask John to add color to what I'm saying, or the wrong things I'm saying. He can correct me. But there is something, when this AI thing was coming around, we had a suspicion. So we said, hey, let's train the brain of using LLMs and train LLMs with documents. So we had a few projects. And we did a couple that are now public, like Dan Western at Jemind, he did one called Katie. It was based on technical documents. So the error codes, the admin guides, the user guides. So we scanned all those in and we created a field service agent called Katie that knows everything about this manufacturer and the machines and what the error codes mean. And you could just talk to that agent and just ask it things. You could say, oh, and then it gives it like predictive diagnosis, and say, hey, this is likely wrong. It could there's Dan, as a matter of fact, I could bring up the blueprint and all that kind of stuff. So that was one agent. And then he created another agent. It was the HR onboarding agent. And so somebody had created kind of the HR onboarding process, and we scanned in that document and then created an agent. Now, you think you could just scan documents and it goes directly into an LLM or AI, and that is kind of sort of could be true if it's a nice structured document. But documents, some of the documents that he had weren't meant for that because it has headers and footers. It's for human eye consumption. So you got colors and tables, and you read it like a human would. But when a computer reads that, it's got tables and it's got the formatting of the table and then the color of the table. That's irrelevant to the LLM. The LLM just needs pure text, right? So
Right.
what I'm saying is there's different, and in the capture, the IDP industry, there's different ways to break apart the document, right? Classify it, and then especially with AI, you have to chunk it into different chunks, and that helps the AI engine consume the data in a way that can understand it better. Because if you just throw a bunch of stuff at it, it does a pretty darn good job, I got to admit, but you can confuse it too. So you got to help it a little way.
And John, before you jump in, and I know you will, and I want you to, that's what it was. It was an IDP guy who said this. And this is why it ticked me off. Oh, I shouldn't say that. It made me more curious because as I'm reading through this pitch, it was nothing new.
Mm.
You know, I hate to say, because I'm not I've only done a few hundred installs or sales of those, but he was going on and on about how it was an AI process to help them scan, but it's the same thing we've been talking about for the last 15 years, right? It wasn't zone, but it wasn't just, it was a couple steps. It might've been machine language if we're learning, if anything, but it kind of, that's right. Now I remember, like, kind of ticked me off. So that's not AI, dude. Don't sell it as AI. It's not AI. Right? I mean, there could be, I don't, but that's not the
All that
way
is
I saw
just
it.
showing different fields that need to be tracked on and putting the documents in certain areas because of the different fields that you're scanning. And that's not AI. That's just
No,
typical document that we do in the past, you know. Basically,
I'm
we set
glad
up
you said that.
a sheet and says, go by these particular areas and route this based on these areas to these areas.
Right. And then Dan, not Dan, I'm getting confused, or John, it was Kevin. Kevin, and I'm going to push back lightly, but I'm going to push back because I think the friction is good to think about here. All right. So when I was training Celeste, it was all digital.
Mm.
It was easy enough, right? And then, so I've been using this for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, is just using PDFs. Tell me how a PDF that's online is different than a scanned document that comes through, because I don't know. And I
Okay.
have had no problems at all pulling up a PDF, let my LLM chew on it, and it all comes out fine, right?
And-
So what's the difference?
I don't want to dominate this, so I want John to get in here, but I'll just answer that because as a partner organization with ours, there's a group called the PDF Association, and they
Okay.
develop the PDF spec. So PDFs, although to Greg, to you, you import a nice clean PDF and it's just a text. Like it doesn't have tables and headers and footers and colors and all that and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So if you get a nice text document, that's cool. You know, but PDFs actually doesn't read the image itself. It's the metadata about the image. And it's got, again, different tags.
Okay.
So there's an article that I'll include in the video recording of this that the PDF Association just put out, and it said basically how to create a PDF that is for AI consumption. So there are techniques you could do. And
Okay.
and on just scanning, I'll just say this, right? There's certain scanning things you could do to improve the quality too, like 300 dots per inch instead of 75 dots per inch.
There's
And,
Sam.
and grayscale instead of just black and white, or a PDF R file format instead of a different file format, JPEG or whatever, right? So there's scanning things, and then there's PDF formation things that you could do. So it's still kind of an art, Greg, to art, Greg. Get it? Bada bing.
Here we go. I got it.
Hey, hey guy.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That was a zinger. But I mean, it's just sometimes it does happen. It's just that straightforward. But other times it still takes a little.
I think you answered my
little-
question, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you did. So, to my LLM, because it's a PDF file, is going to read. It's going to read the meta file attached to that. Whatever that PDF thing is, because the PDF is an image. The LLM doesn't read the image. The LLM reads the meta attached to that image. Is that a correct statement,
Correct.
or
Yes,
kind of?
it's text. Yep.
So it's text, which is the easiest for the LLM to digest as a text file. It saves on tokens and everything. And that's why the colors and all that crap are just overhead, right?
Well, let's just stop there because it only accepts text. It doesn't accept images. Even if you upload an image, it will convert it to text. So there's always a conversion process.
This is fascinating. Okay. I mean, to the end user, a regular end user doesn't care.
No.
I mean, as long as it's getting what I think it's supposed to be. And I
And-
say I think because
And I think I know the article you're talking about. It was Databricks, and they said IDP is super important to AI.
It might have been Databricks.
And Databricks is a mainstream software company, right? They're
Yeah.
not a capture company, but they were saying IDP is important because it trains the AI. I remember the article now. Yeah, I didn't read it, but
Oh, okay.
I saw the headline.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
All
not rocket science, but the problem is, Greg, is that, and I know of a customer about 15 years ago. They were in a lawsuit, and they had all these PDF files, and they were feeding it into this e-discovery system, and
Okay.
they were trying to pull up keywords based on, a keyword search, and they couldn't find the stuff. But they were like, I know the documents that we're feeding it had these words, and they couldn't find obvious words.
Hmm.
So they were trying to they were looking at the e-discovery software. Hey, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. So it turns out that the OCR engine they were using was some crap OCR engine.
The
And the
OCR engine.
and
Yeah.
the
Okay.
OCR was bad, so it made the e-discovery application look bad because it didn't get the good text. So
Right.
it wasn't the application, it was the text recognition. So what I'm saying is people might not realize that they don't have good quality capture until it's too late. They can't
Right.
find that document via keyword, or it's not getting good AI. So people are they're gonna say, "Oh, my AI is not working," but that's not true. The
That's
AI,
true.
the LLM, the AI is working just fine, but it's getting bad text, right? Or not getting the right text, or even worse, getting the wrong text,
The
and then
wrong
you
text. Yeah.
learn on the wrong stuff. And
Right.
then with machine learning, then you've got a big mess. You can't, it's not easy to go clean up.
So that's where I skipped that part, the OCR part, right?
Yeah.
So the PDF is a PDF, and you can OCR a PDF. I'm guessing. Is that
Yep.
am I?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Okay. John, go ahead. What were you going to say? Because this
I
is a
don't know.
great subject.
No, you're right. Yeah. So PDFs can be image PDFs. PDFs can be searchable PDFs. They're not the same, obviously. An engine needs to look at those squiggles and turn them into text. Now, if
Right.
you've ever copied and pasted out of a text searchable PDF into like WordPad or Notepad, the formatting and the fonts and all the other stuff are look very generic, very general because all it's doing is turning that into that text. It puts that invisible layer on top of the PDF image. So when you go to search for it and it hopefully finds it, that's how it highlights that word. It's not highlighting the image word, it's highlighting the text word that's in
Right.
that layer on top of
The
on top
layer.
of the image. Adds a little bit of space. It makes them a little
Hi,
bit bigger,
Kevin.
but just a little bit. Text is cheap. Yeah, and that's what most applications that do searching rely on is that OCR front end. But one of the things you talked about AI in documents, and somebody just told me this recently, and I don't know if I believe them or not, but they say that your generative AI models are very different than the AI that's used in document recognition. Because
Yeah.
because what we could really reading a page and making inferences based on questions is a very different thing, right? So according to this person who by the way sells IDP, so you got to consider the source. Um, the document AI is significantly better, faster, more accurate, and more flexible than a general generative AI engine looking at documents. So it's not enough just to apply AI to document management. You have to apply the right AI to document management.
Yeah, I'd be sus about that. I don't know what that means.
I don't
Yeah,
either. I don't know if that's a thing.
I'll give you a real world example.
Uh,
So John,
Eric.
you nailed it. So there's this client, and I encourage everybody to go look it up. It's pretty cool. There's this company called Interscan. Okay,
okay.
they got one of these big scanners,
Mhm.
but they have an LLM that they a fine-tuned LLM for IDP capture. Okay, so
Okay.
they've got it, and they got a system on there, and it's all on board, and you can actually, and their Jetstream AI software. That's what it is. The LLM is finely tuned for the capture portion of it, not to
For the
query
capture.
and,
Okay.
and to make an agent out of it, right? It's to get the data in a format that can then go into AI systems, and they use their own LLM. So,
Well, that's
John,
okay. Yeah.
that's a perfect example of somebody that's tuned an engine for different purposes. Yes.
Yeah.
Art's here. Hi, Art.
Hi, Art.
Hey, what's going on?
Kevin made it in. Hi, Kevin. Another
Hey,
Kevin Frey.
hey
And
everybody.
What's up,
I think
Kevin?
Sam, Sam, you still here?
I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm Cameron. Am I allowed to say damn? Crap. I'm
There we
sorry.
go. I think Dan's here too.
Dan is here as well.
Yep, just
Very
getting ready to
cool.
board my flight, guys, so I'm just listening.
Okay, cool. Art, we were talking about LLMs and AI and scanning and PDFs. How scanning had started to be is being linked somehow in the world with AI, and how scan it's. I think I had this conversation earlier today. Of all the things, scanning is coming back as an interest point, and I was almost blaming or giving credit to the new Ricoh scanner, which Kevin knows intimately. Yeah, that type of talk. But now what I'm hearing, and you guys, again, I'm just a regular layperson user. It seems like for AI to digest a document that's scanned, it's got to be almost down to the text level, right? That would be the easiest way for AI to pick it up, which is very similar to how the AI quote unquote search how the Google searches are no longer as effective as AI searches, and so your content out on the interwebs has to be almost just basic text, no graphics, no pretty pictures. It's got to be readable by an AI, readable by a human, and that because that's how AI works and the LLMs and stuff. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? Have you heard
Yeah, I do.
talk like that?
I mean,
Okay.
most likely it's gonna, if it's got AP or AR stuff, or even HR stuff, I mean, it's gonna ignore the pictures and just, focus on the text.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
art that's a good example. So in an AR an accounts receivable application, you've got five fields in the total, the payee, payer, whatever, five fields. And you basically extract those five fields and then you map it to the database like a DocuWare database, right? So that's what Capture's been doing, shoving it into a document management system, for example. But and that's just kind of mapping the data sources. But with a LLM, you need a text file, and it's usually a markdown file, an MD file type. So it chunks it in different, like a big long PDF. It'll say this is the topic of the paper of this page, and this is the topic of this, and it will summarize it and it'll chunk it in a way that the LLM can understand it. So it's usually like a markdown file, or OpenAI takes these what they call a JSON-L file. So it's just a different format. Instead of going into a database, like I said, with the five fields, it's taking all the text and chunking it up and organizing it in a way that it can go into the AI, and you help the AI be smarter and more accurate, because we get a lot of hallucinations because it can make mistakes because it gets confused because the text isn't organized nicely. That's all.
Interesting.
So it's all, it sounds all complicated, but it's actually just a series of.
I can't get buy-in to document management. I'm curious if AI is going to present another hurdle as it comes along, or if the learning curve could be zero with AI. And if the learning curve could be zero with AI, that could be a plus. But then I'm sure we're going to have people pushing back on. I don't know if we want AI looking at it, but then again, if AI is just on the copy machine, which it could be a lot more power. Just my 2 cents.
Let me ask the group a question. So a document management system, right? You got an interface and you got drop downs and you have search bars and you got an interface to it, right? And that's how you find a document in there. You do a search by this and then you put some dates and times. So when you go to find something in your AI system, what do? Do you go through an interface?
You just go to the search and ask for it, and it pops up everything I need.
You just ask a natural question. You don't need an interface, right?
Right.
So that's why software as a service applications that have interfaces that you needed before to find information, now you don't need those interfaces. You just ask in natural language. Just give me a report of all the opportunities in New Jersey that are this size, right? And so you have a prompt. So there is no need for interfaces anymore. That's my point. So is that true?
Is that because AI makes every document a live document?
Yeah, you could talk to your docs.
So you're absolutely right, because now they're only on ramps to the network. All our scanners and copiers do is a gateway to get on a ramp to get on the network. Yeah. And the rest of it now is technology that's going to direct and address every single one of your scans and where you're going to put them. And copiers have gotten away from that. So we basically just provide a service to get it on there, and then they do the rest of it. So that's why I don't get too much into it, because I don't want to screw up my copier. So I say, yeah, sure, it's on ramp. Whatever you guys got, we'll work with it. We'll get into it because we have an OSA, open architecture. So not to make it an
Well,
issue.
Kevin, you've swerved into something that we've been saying for a while, right? Sam, just to expand on what Kev said. So we said there's no user interface. Okay. So, but it's been my contention for a while. We don't need Windows. You won't need an OS. You won't need any of that, because all of that will be inside the AI. The AI will be your email. The AI will be your operating system. You've heard of these. What are they called? Kevin, one of you guys is going to be able to help me out. Salesforce went headless on their, it's something to do with interconnecting with it. That had something to do with AI. Does anyone know what that phrase means? Headless, in terms of internet websites and things. I just heard it last week. I haven't done any research on it.
Well, headless on devices mean there is no interface. So if you're referring to no interface, then yes, like a Raspberry.
I think so.
Yeah.
So if Salesforce goes headless, I don't know. I'm really truly well, do you guys know what does that mean? I guess I could go look, but I want to talk about it.
You've used Salesforce. We are a customer of Salesforce. So there's interfaces all over, drop downs and searches and
right.
And dashboards and for this and dashboards. So you're not going to need all that stuff. Again, if all these 10 dashboards that I have in Salesforce, I just have one prompt instead, right?
Wasn't it 3 weeks ago? I said what good are dashboards?
And I don't have to. I'm still creating dashboards in Salesforce, but I don't have to anymore as long as my data, the same data is available somewhere else, right? Or even in Salesforce, right? Just
it's even, it goes further than that. It's like, what are you doing with the data that you see, right? What decisions are you making because of the data you see on the dashboard? That's where the real AI. It's like, right, the AI is now going to supply me with the data that I need to make a decision, or is it just going to give me the decision?
And I'll give you a business use case. So
yeah,
I used to work for a guy that wasn't very patient. Let's just say that. Okay. And when he wanted a report out of Salesforce, he would have to go to try to explain what he wanted to IT. Then IT would take 2 weeks, and they were good IT department, but they would take 2 weeks to kind of, I understand. Okay, what is this? What you want? And they do something, and then they go back to him, and about a month later, he'd get a report with a month-old data, right?
Right.
So, and that's how I'm sure that's the way it happened 5 years ago.
Oh
but
my God,
now this impatient boss, he could have a query, and then he could say, "Oh, I want this. Oh, no, I didn't want that. I could do it again." It's self-service. He could do the queries all by himself, and he's getting paid a lot of money to make decisions. And now he has real-time data easily, and he could do more reports more often, all the time, slice and dice however he wants. He doesn't have to go to IT. They create a dashboard, then bring the dashboard back to him. That is so old-fashioned anymore already, right?
It's probably going to come out on Green Bar, if you guys remember Green Bar.
Yeah. So Kevin Neal, I guess you've got to set up I guess the AI's got to be set up to read digital folders and then scan folders as well, right?
So Art, it's really simple. Like Claudebot, right? Or what's that one, Dan, that you're talking about?
That was the example I was going to give is OpenClaw. And the real world example leading the trade show here is me and my co-founder with my OpenClaw agents. Mine is named Sonia, his is named Gemma. I have mine tied to WhatsApp, and I have his tied to Telegram for messaging. But literally before walking up to a booth, talking to your agent via text on the WhatsApp saying, "Hey, I'm getting ready to meet ABC company. Tell me a little bit about them." It goes out, does the research for you, gives you a heads up of what the heck you're going to go see them, what you're going to talk to them about. And then after you get done, say, "Hey, I met Joe. His phone number is blah, 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 blah. Follow up on blah, 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 blah." And it's doing all of that real time with you via basically text messaging and helping, document your visit, strategize on what the follow-up is, and then do all of that stuff. And basically done with all of that stuff that you would have done reporting before and after without a UI. So that's a very real world example of what you're talking about.
And that's he's narrating to his agents, but you could have had that agent monitor a folder that's the images coming from a copy machine or a scanner, right? So the point is it can collect information from a lot of different sources.
Right, but Kevin, how about all the digital documents that are made now in ERPs? I mean, most of your digital documents are in your ERPs or in your CRM.
Yeah.
So that could be set up as well.
Yeah. That new thing, what was that thing that came out from Anthropic the other day? Milos or whatever? It was so
Kinda came out,
powerful.
yeah.
It was so powerful that it was getting into ERPs and CRMs without authorization. It was figuring out the passwords and any hole in the firewall. So it went and gathered all this data and it was too powerful. So they said, "Oh, we can't put it out yet," right? So so it was doing all those things without explicit, control. So it was that's my point. It was so good at gathering data that they had to control it and everybody got scared about it.
So I
This
guess
is
there's
exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly why Salesforce and every SaaS application in the world is obsolete already. And
Yeah.
Dan just said it. When you're in an airport doing what you usually had to have done up in the cloud or whatever, it's 4 or 5 different applications. It's all coming back to we don't need to do that. We don't need that SaaS. And it's going to take a while. Like all these problems that we're having implementing AI is hierarchical, organizational, siloed. And then if you implement it at the ground floor, like what Dan just said, if you let your end users do it, it's going to implement itself and it's going to take away all that SaaS stuff. An accounts receivable clerk, I think we just talked about it, right? If they're sitting there trying to process 120 checks a month, it isn't that some IT department is going to come down and say, here's a piece of software, it's called AI, it can help you process 200 invoices a month. It's going to be that operator asking their AI, hey, this is what I do. How can I process 80 more invoices a month? And then the solution is going to come to that person directly, one-to-one, not from Mount High. And that's really, and the Mythos thing is a perfect example because it went out and tried to do it everyone's job better.
And Greg, that's how cloud computing became like accepted in the enterprise. It was not IT saying go use cloud computing. It was the users said, screw this, I'm not using SharePoint. I'm not using anything authorized. I'm going to start using my own personal cloud for business
It's
stuff.
how printers got in. It's how everyone went home and made Banner Maker. These marketing companies would go home and use Paint and all this PageMaker or whatever on the kitchen table, come to work, and you're sitting in front of a green screen. Which, by the way, do you guys remember the green screens?
Of course, yeah. That was before
Those
email.
screens would be the easiest for an LLM to digest.
That's where RPA. That's where RPA started. Yeah, yeah.
So everything's going all the way back to where we were in the beginning.
So how about permissions? Once this AI is set up, what's going to stop the layman from accessing confidential stuff?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And it's not even nothing. And it's not even the layman. It's the AI. It's a James Bond movie. It's a freaking Mission Impossible.
First of all,
that would be the first problem I would see.
On the AI, we're already making a first wrong assumption. That is that you're actually thinking that there's a vault or a repository for AI to keep documents stored. It doesn't. It's all just digital data within its own framework. So it can put the document together, explode the document, do anything it wants with the document. It doesn't put it like we would in our the workflows used to be set up because we had to have in our mind to be able to conceptualize it to build it, right? This document goes in HR. This document goes in accounts receivable. This document goes in payable. AI doesn't do any of that. AI is one energy, and it just takes that document, and when it needs it, for whatever it needs it for, it knows where it is. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's a whole nother structure. That's why when everyone says, well, we got to have structured data to put in AI. Well, you're kind of missing the point.
Well, we're doing the same thing, and we're doing the same thing in the GPUs. All right,
yeah.
Greg. I mean, we're not even putting busing in the GPUs anymore. We're literally putting the firmware right on top of the GPU. Okay, it integrates with the GPU. They used another name for it. It's called supercomputing, but before it was called that, we used to have busing. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then busing started changing and everything else. Well, can you imagine AI being limited by busing? Yikes!
Yeah. Yes. So and then it's the whole thing about confidentiality.
Yeah.
If an AI is trained enough, there is no more. I mean, what are you going to keep confidential? Your social security number? Well, if it knows enough about you, it will predict your social security number. What else are you going to keep? The plans to the F-35, the F-55, or whatever, the space shuttle? that's a whole nother thing. I know that Kevin Frey knows how to secure that.
Don't. We're not going to talk about that one. I know too much about that
Okay.
one.
All
And it was the F-47, so stop it. But now we have a leak on the B-22, but I don't want to talk about that either. Okay.
Air gap. Go back to paper, guys. Go back to
Yeah,
paper.
exactly. Yep.
Wow. It's a fascinating thing. And to think that it all started with a copier, a seven-step xerographic process.
That outsmarted the engineers. And
John,
you know
you're
what?
Quiet. What? Go ahead, Kevin.
50 years later, we still have operators that can't use them. Doesn't even have to be in part of the government. They still don't know how to use them.
Fascinating.
Hey, you want to go over some news?
Yes, we
Sure.
didn't before. We waited for you.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. First on the step is Pudu Robotics raises nearly $150 million.
I saw that.
Exceeds US dollar is now a 1.5 billion valuation.
Does anybody else think
someone
does anybody else think it's interesting that now everything we talk about in the world today is about in billions? Like millions have been completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
Except when we
I
talk
thought
about Xerox.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, they don't have that. They don't have that many. But I mean, like, I'm going to sue you, but not for 50 million, not 10 million. I'm going to sue you for $4 billion. You know what I mean? The total losses of this company's IP information was $10 billion. It's like, where did all these assessments come from? I mean, can I just get into the million side? I'd be happy right there. I mean,
It's terrible. I heard of a corruption thing. It was $150 million in corruption. I was like, well, why are we even bothering with that?
why are we even
Wait a
talking
minute.
about that? Come
Yeah,
on.
it's 150 million, but because of everything else, they're in the billions of dollars. But you know what? I think I remember hearing people say that back when millions started to come in, right? 150 million used to be a lot because we were only talking about hundreds of thousands, the 80s. But anyway, yeah.
There was
What
another
else, Scott?
there was another article out there. MSPs must get customers ready for AI. But I think you guys covered that basically in the last 20 minutes or so. That was a pretty interesting article, but it encourages MSPs to move upstream into advisory roles versus reactive IT support. So I thought that was an interesting article.
It's real interesting. It's what we said in 2001. So yeah, okay, good.
Oh, let's see. What else do we have? Sharp and a company named Tactiful announced a strategic alliance to simplify embellished print production. I've never heard of Tactiful before, but I would believe that's some type of additional unit from what it looks like here that's going to allow users to do embellishment.
Out of Sharp? Wow.
Yeah, with their reactor platform, need expert training.
Huh.
So
That's like in the production space.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, in production print. Yep. There was a short a goodbye note about 9-Star, and basically Shift is going over to Phantom now as the primary brand. Let's see. Here's an article by a dealer. I think they're in Oklahoma, Stanley Systems. 85% of desk workers hit a tech-related slowdown every workday.
85.
Say that again. All right.
85%.
I didn't hear all that. What was that?
85% of desk workers hit a tech-related slowdown every workday.
Yeah, I would. I'd say that's probably true.
Wow.
I'd absolutely say that's true.
And that's done by Stanley Systems, and I believe they're out of Oklahoma, and they also run a managed print service, copiers, and managed IT service. Stanley Systems partnered with Polefish to survey 500 desk-based workers in February 2026. Report looks at how often employees face tech-related interruptions. I have it 4 or 5 times every day, just on my end.
He skewed that towards 85%. Right?
It might have something to do with who's sitting in front of the computer.
Yeah,
Just saying.
I don't know. I'm pretty talented.
I didn't mean you. I meant everyone else.
Which issues take the most time, and how long it can be? It can take to get fully back on track. So I thought that was another interesting article. Let's see. Do we have any blockbusters? Konica Minolta and Troy unveiled the new micer system. I don't know about micer.
I know, it's like,
I mean, their existing system was 6 to 7 years old, so they probably had to do something. But one of my clients is one of the biggest check producers, as John well knows, in the U.S., and their volume just keeps on going down and down.
you mean like Deluxe? Like Deluxe. Remember those?
Well,
they make the checks, or
Deluxe doesn't make any checks; they farm it all out.
well, you know what I mean, though, right? It's like a Deluxe, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You used to have to have ink reading and printing, but you could do that with optical now. I think it's more accepted.
Well,
Yeah, magnetic toner was.
well, what's the need for magnetic toner now when you can basically scan your check and put it into your checking account?
Yeah,
You
that's
can
what I'm
take a
saying.
picture of
Right?
it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You
Yep.
don't need ink. Yeah.
I can't believe
But-
there's still people buying it. Seriously.
At the volumes, I would think these banks need to scan. It might be necessary. Micer might be the only way to scan at that high volume.
Oh,
I mean, that's they're processing hundreds of thousands of checks.
so
you know,
it's
an hour.
faster to process the micer than to
Yes,
image it.
than optically
Okay.
optically read them.
But that's going to get less and less. The banks are going
Sure.
to be processing less and less checks,
Exactly.
especially as
Less
the-
hunger to check.
especially if all the boomers get, once they stop writing checks. Oh, well, I'm a boomer. I write what, 10 checks a year?
And you're a boomer. All the
And I'm a
first 6
boomer.
or 7 generations before you or after, I don't even. There are other ones. They don't even know what a checkbook is.
I would be surprised if I touched my checkbook once in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I don't.
I agree.
I'm not sure I know where it is.
I don't.
Here's another one from Kate. They partnered with ShareScan. I believe a few of us spoke about that earlier this week to offer intelligent document and workflow capabilities in the U.S. marketplace.
What's the name of that company?
ShareScan.
ShareScan out of Europe. You've
Partnered
heard,
with
they've been
who?
around.
Kate.
Caton.
Kate
Really?
A3
Oh,
machines
okay.
and Kate A4 machines. So John, we had we actually downloaded one of their A4 devices, the operator's manual.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually pretty interesting because it had in an A4 machine, it had deskew and despeckle feature.
As a feature of the software.
The scanning
Yes.
built in.
Yeah.
So
Im-
so those ShareScan and ScanShare, there's two different products. But anyway, ShareScan is an embedded application, yes, but it is driven in the back end by a PC. That's not.
Are
Right.
you talking about
But that's not what
ShareScan or
Art's talking
Scan
about.
Share? I'm
Which-
talking about
which-
Scan Share.
ScanShare
Yes.
from Italy.
I don't know where the hell it's from.
Yes, we sell it and we set it up and yeah, it is not a standalone application. It is driven on a PC. Yes, so that despeckle, deskew, OCR, zonal OCR, some light AI functionality is in the software, but that is all running
It's
on a
on the
PC in the
PC.
background.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
So I was going back to the operator's manual.
Mhm.
And in the operator's manual, it seemed like there was, it stated there was a feature for deskew and
That's right.
descan.
all right, so John's talking about the software of
That's correct.
ShareScan on a set, but Art's talking about the manual for the actual unit, the physical
hardware.
unit. So it's
Yeah.
Oh,
despeckle, whatever.
Deskew,
is built into the
despeckle.
scan. Yeah, it's like the old scanners, right? Every Panasonic
Huh?
did that. So, which is
The-
interesting. I remember them saying that when we saw it in Arizona.
on an A4 machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That
And-
A4 had a lot of nice things. The wasn't the ADF kind of big too? Art, wasn't there more? There was something about it. I mean, it's a really small machine. The toner cartridges are very simple and easy to put in, small, and the scanning capabilities were, to me, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. A couple notches.
Right. So I'll go. I was speaking to one of my a VP of sales today. Not today. It was actually 2 days ago, and we had a talk that basically Atria and Ricoh should be releasing their first MFPs sometime next year.
Who?
What?
Atria, that's the Toshiba and Ricoh
Oh.
company.
The
It's
collaboration.
called Atria. Yes.
Ah,
Oh.
And sometime next year, those machines are going to come to market.
huh.
Jesus
So the question is that are we gonna have the same machines as Toshiba, and Toshiba is gonna have the same machines as us? Because it's a joint manufacturing.
That's interesting.
So it leaves definitely some questions.
Yeah, who's going to sell it?
Yeah.
Now, as far as I know,
Ricoh dealers, Toshiba dealers.
yeah.
The
They're
answer
going
is
to be
yes.
a standalone Atria dealer.
No. As far as it's our understanding that
The go-to-market's going to be really
it could still possibly be a Ricoh, but it's going to be manufactured by Toshiba and Atria in Japan, or Taiwan, or China, wherever they're doing it. And Oki's in on that as well.
No kidding. So Oki could, yeah, that's right. There's more than those three, aren't there? I thought they all got in on that.
I thought there was 3 or 4. I know three is Oki, Toshiba, and Ricoh, and
Wow.
it was, they built it to how can I say, streamline manufacturing.
Right. So you're right. It's the old Detroit it's the Oldsmobile Buick. It's like same line, different logo. Wow.
So what would Oki bring to the table in that relationship?
Probably nothing.
Not money, maybe. I don't know. Was Oki, I don't know.
Well,
Impact printers. We're going back to impact printers.
Oki's big in Europe and Asia.
They're all LED.
Apparently, yeah.
It's a good point.
It's leveraging Oki's LED head technology to develop compact, resource, and energy-saving products. I guess that's what Oki brings to the table.
So Oki could be the engines?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't think they'd be good for anything else.
Right.
Because none of the technology transfers over.
Is Canon in the group?
No, it's just, Toshiba, Ricoh, and now Oki.
That's it. So they're probably LEDs. Wow.
If they just rebranded the Oki name and got Oki out of the way, their management out of the way of it, they'd be successful.
And also production. Oki has a major production site in Thailand.
Yeah. How major can that be, really?
It just says major.
That means that's the only place they make them.
Maybe. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of companies are moving out of China, so they got to go somewhere. And that's the
phrase rearranging the deck chairs.
So actually change is coming. And if they do have a OEM channel out in Kansas City when we go to BTA, that's definitely a question we should bring up.
Oh.
And I would nominate Kevin Neal to bring up that question.
Oh, no.
I got banned.
You did not, Kevin. You're the only one. We can't do it because you are, quote, outside the industry.
Yes.
Oh boy. I'm the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
No. They would kill. I'm already dead to a bunch of people. Art's, because he's hanging out with me, is in trouble, but you're clean.
I did my best last year to get myself banned. So
hey, Art, I got one more news I forgot about. Are you done yet or not?
Yeah. No. That was basically the week.
So if I share something, will it crash the system?
Shouldn't.
You'll just add one more statistic to that incident report that they released about how many calls a day are tech related.
You guys see this?
Yep.
Oh my.
This is my sad story, my nostalgic story, because the very first printer I ever sold was an HP Series 2 attached to an IBM PS2 model 30, or this is a 286 machine.
Scroll down a bit.
Okay. Can you see it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Boise, and then I ended my HP career with Edgeline, right? So I will never forget this. I sold an IBM. It could have been an AT, for God's sakes. I don't remember. With an HP Series 4 to a lawyer's office, right? And the reception, honest God, there was an IBM Selectric right next to it, a typewriter, right? And I think it was Word Perfect. It could have been Word Star, but it was one of those old ones, right? And we installed it. We put it on, and if you guys remember the installation, you don't, but it's big, huge boxes, Word Perfect, they all go on the shelf. And I showed her how to do a mail merge, right? With the address and the deer, all that stuff. And she would have to, she would what was fast back then? 80 words a minute? Was that pretty fast to type? Whatever it was, she was the fastest. And then she did it. We did the whole thing. We said print, and out came the first print out of the series 2. And she's looking at it, because if you guys remember, man, that quality was just perfect next to a typewriter. It was like, oh, wow. And while she's reading this, another one comes out. And it's a different name, a different address, a different deer. And she's going, oh, wow, that's great. Then another one. So it's like 4 a minute. That was it. And she had them, and she's going, this is great. And then I'm looking at her dead. She goes, yeah, I go, isn't that great? And then her face just went totally blank.
Out of a
pale.
Job.
Yes. I will this might have been 1989, 1990, in that range. I haven't forgotten it. Because that's exactly what she says. She says, they don't need me anymore. She didn't say it out loud, but she went pale. Like, oh my God. Now, what happened was just like everything else. Instead of her being able to type 4 or 40, she could do a lot more. She never lost her job. She just was able to do more because of the technology. So that was my first introduction. And then my last was, I bought the very last 2 edge lines from Boise, and they were for parts. They were all torn apart. I just buy them, and we used them for our fleet. But then to see, freaking Boise's evacuated, man, what a sad, sad day, at least in my opinion.
It is a sad day.
I mean, and what's even sadder, because I talked to some of my HP guys, is like, it's going away with a meh. No one's even recognizing exactly what this means. This is where it started. This is how office print changed, was from HP in the series 2. It went from there, and then now it's gone. So, but anyway, it's, don't mean to bring the crowd down, but.
So what happens to all that work that they did, the 1,100 people?
Well, it's like they're gone.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of everybody. They're closing it down.
They're gone.
That article was depressing.
Yeah.
So Greg, so years ago I sold when Sharp came out with their Sharp disk. They had a scan middleware came out with. So I'm in this big law firm. We're putting in Sharps everywhere, blah blah blah. And this old lady, nicest lady on the planet. She's just sitting there watching the whole thing take place. And rarely do you get the mother hen not participate, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, there's either something brewing underneath or whatever. I don't know yet, right? So then we get through the cities, and I'm in Denver or wherever, and this gal's like, hey, show me how that software works. And I'm thinking, of all the people that don't want to know how to work software, this lady's probably going to fit the bill of not knowing. So I show her. We're going through a bunch of stuff. And I went back there, I don't know, 2 months later or whatever. And this lady's sitting there just chilling at her desk and not doing much. And I said, what's going on? Typical stuff, fishing for a problem, whatever. And she's like, well, she goes, the reason I wanted you to show me that software, she said, is I was getting ready to retire, but they brought me back and raised my pay, because what I do is we have legal in all these different states, and all the legal interpretations have to be changed based off of where they're at. And I'm the lady that does that. So she said, what I do now is I take that software you gave me, I drop the documents in there, make the changes, print it back out, and they raise my pay, and they think that I'm still at my age working that hard. She said, but I just showed them how to work smarter. They don't know it. Right. So I said, how much did it give you a raise? She said they doubled it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Good
doubled
for her.
it. Yeah. And she goes, she's like, I never knew I had a reason to want to ever learn how to use that stuff, but now I kind of think it's pretty good stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Crazy.
That's where it is. You're right. So there's a why in the road. You're either going to die by it, or you're going to figure it out and go, you know what? I could probably do this maybe. And then go from there. Wow. That's a much better story than mine.
Hey, everyone. I got to run. I got the granddaughters that just came over.
What?
So, Greg, you're in charge. You got the host. Close the show. But good to see everybody. Kevin Neal, John DiCarlo, Dan, Kevin.
Take it easy, Art.
Art, don't go getting yourself in timeout, okay?
Yeah.
Those kids leave, but that look you get is forever, okay?
Well, this is their first sleepover. So,
good luck.
Yeah.
Actually, we should all say goodbye to Art. Goodbye, Art.
Bye, Art.
All right, everybody have a good
Later.
All
right. Wow.
Fun
Those are
time.
really good stories. Yeah, and then they ended on the grandkids. That's cool. Wow. Well, we're almost coming to the end. You guys got anything else? I mean, there's also we could talk for hours. I'd like to hear more about top secret stuff from the government. If there was someone on the line that could, I don't know, maybe act like he
Oh
knew what's
my
going
God. There is actually some stuff going on. It's been a little bit busy.
on.
You might be surprised at how much you want to know about. Do you want to talk about like what network stuff looks like, or you want to talk about what
What's going to have the
that
biggest impact on the American society? We're 250 years old. What's going to be good and bad?
well, the biggest one's going to be that there's going to be over a $1 billion lawsuit to a very prominent university coming up here very shortly that will literally stop them dead because their IT people decided that they didn't realize that where we are in the world today, they didn't understand that intellectual property is the modern currency of our planet today. They took that a little bit the wrong way, and so information got out that didn't. I keep telling people a simple thing. It's like, can you imagine what would be the settlement for Hershey's chocolate if that recipe got out? What would the amount and the number be, right? So these are IT people that were sleeping at the wheel,
And
and
it got out.
it got out, and you're going to see it coming up. And when it does, it'll consume all the news. It'll be a big deal, but no one will have the information, right? But
That's true. Military or just regular stuff?
regular stuff,
Or-
but
Yeah.
it was regular stuff, but it will affect it will affect the gov because part of it was coming to the gov. The gov incubated it. So right now, what the government's doing is they're incubating companies to create technologies that they want. Brilliant idea. It took them forever to
Yeah.
figure this out. That's why it took last 3 years has been nothing but a complete rehaul in the government of how it all works. And now they're looking for companies to partner with them and say, hey, how can we incubate this? How can we grow this? What we can do for this to do that stuff. And some IT person must not have read the memo, but that information got out, and
Wow.
I'm just going to sit back and see. I have no idea. I don't know. It's going to be curious.
Well, Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up because here, let me throw this: the Palantir and the Open Claw Department of War feud, or whatever the hell is going on with that,
Mhm.
right? In general, what do you think about all that?
Well, Palantir, do you know what the problem is with all that?
Well, no, I've
Do you-
been
do you-
heard,
do you
I've
know-
heard a lot of things, but I don't know.
Okay, so when Bush did the Patriot Act and all that stuff,
Yes,
we never understood what that was, did we?
no,
Okay, Palantir is times 1,000. So Palantir will have every single piece of information of every person on the planet based off of the program that they're going to have.
okay.
Do you see a problem with that?
A little bit.
The
The
government will
word
never
that comes to
misuse
mind
data.
is inevitable, if not already. But anyway,
Okay,
go
but
on. Yeah.
the problem with so everybody's trying to figure out is it's called the collective. What's going to happen with the collective? Because eventually we're going to find out that blowing up bridges and blowing up refineries ain't going to be the answer.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, Sun Tzu is right about taking these places intact, right?
Mhm.
So imagine what would happen if three nationalities, three races decided to agree on something. Black people, white people, and brown people. If they all decided to agree on
Keep going.
something, right? Then there would be no reason for the government couldn't possibly divide and conquer, could they? So what if Palantir had all of this information, knew everything about your tendencies, about what triggers you or what motivates you, and had all that information and then put that out? It would be like what Facebook was trying to do on a smaller scale, right?
Right.
It's what Google's trying to do when they listen to everything that's going on, right? But Palantir is going to be like way bigger than that, way bigger than that.
Okay.
It's
Well, yeah, but
no, just a lot of people are really concerned about we're going into something that nobody can put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's like taxes; we don't just give them back up, right? So
Right.
people are sitting there looking at this, saying, "Okay, you're talking about now." Literally a completely different ballgame. And for a private
is it
company,
something that is just on our? I mean, wouldn't China already have a Palantir? I mean,
Well-
is there a balance, or is this like super monolith? I don't
okay,
know.
here's the example I give. So for years and years and years in college basketball and college sports in general, players have been getting paid. Everybody's known that, right?
Mhm.
This is before NIL. We all know that we all believe they were getting paid. We saw the results of them getting paid, but nobody really knew they were getting paid, and it was on a smaller scale, right?
It wasn't a process. It wasn't a program. Right.
Right. But it was a thing, right? Okay. Now take that to what we're talking about now. Then NIL came and everybody's getting paid. And the numbers didn't stay where they were at. look what happened to the numbers. Okay. You can't get a forward now for $1 million, right? It went up 250,000 from last year. So do the same thing with intellectual property, intellectual information now. So there's no calculus to figure out what does this mean if a complete company has the repository that's so massive of everything that's going on. What can it do? What has Facebook done? What has X done?
But the only answer is that IP doesn't matter. It's like there is no IP because everyone has it. Now what?
Well, right. We're all being distracted by the idea of losing it, getting sued for it, being fined for it.
I agree. So I follow all the creatives since day one of this whole AI thing. The creatives, the Hollywoods, the film guys, the people who, and all that whole machine of people who get paid off of the creative folks, right? A painter will paint because he likes to paint, but an agent will take that and sell it. And then a management, all that narrative that happened, that's IP that they're making money off, which was fake and false. I saw AI is getting rid of that. So I'm very, very concerned that IP, as it's defined today, is irrelevant, obsolete. Because the only reason we have IP is so a bunch of people can make money off of that IP.
Yeah.
So if I can be as good as, and I'm not saying, if anyone can be a great writer like Stephen King, what good is Stephen King's IP?
Well, you guys are just talking about it with scan software. You're talking about two economies that are going to be completely gone. And that was just in a little conversation sitting on a chat room on Friday afternoon.
I think more and more people are starting to get this too. I think a bunch of people got it 24 months ago, and that's why they're freaking out behind the doors. But I think it's going to come down to, it's going to get in the trenches, just like your $1 billion lawsuit. People are going to understand that IP is made up. It's a narrative. It isn't really real. It's real. It's only real when an observer looks at whatever someone created. That's real. But anything outside of that is all made up so that I can make money off of the fact that someone really likes the way you put a bunch of colors on a piece of paper.
Okay, so I'm writing a paper on Palantir right now, ironically. Here's the first header to catch your attention to it. You ready? Basically, it's about the perceived omniscience of data aggregation at a scale. That's what we're all talking about with Palantir. I mean, that's the whole thing going on in the government right now, is that data aggregation is something that we can't even put a number to, right?
No.
Okay. But like, so the two things about Palantir that everybody's got their eye on is something called Palantir Gotham and Palantir Foundry. Those are the two that are hurting. Those are the ones that everybody's like, not so good, right? But they don't just store data. If it was just a big repository of data, it would be meaningless because nobody knows how to deal with data. Right? We can only cognitively, we can only comprehend so much. Right? But what happens if they took that and they fused that information and data sets into unified ontology? So now you could build armies, you could build economies, you could build anything you want, right? Because I can see everything.
Yeah, it's a massive data set that's organized. I mean, that's kind of what I was saying originally. Is
it's even organized, Kevin, beyond what we can contemplate as organization. It's weird.
So what AI is going to do with it, though, here's the catch. So have you ever heard of something called schema alignment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've been talking about
schemas,
it this whole schema alignment. You guys have been talking about it this whole time, and it's basically what you think your perception of what AI is. That's your schema alignment of a perception. Okay, if you're right or if you're wrong, you're right because it came out of your mouth. It was approved by your brain for you to say it. Agreed? So everybody has a schema alignment. But now if they take graph-based modeling, which will be AI, which will be a blink, I mean, it'll be an instant, right? It gives them access to controlled analytics like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about food. You're talking about tendencies. You're talking about behavior. You're talking about anything that the human being does. Palantir will have it to AI. It'll be the biggest thing you could ever imagine to AI.
It's beyond imagination. It is. I understand exactly.
There's literally there's literally no way to know.
There's no hyperbole. There's no hyperbole.
No.
Imagine that.
Yeah, you're putting a single pane of glass over reality. That's what you're doing.
Well, yeah.
I mean, honest to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my Gregorians is that AI eliminates data. And I've been saying that for a couple of years. People, what do you mean? AI doesn't need data. the key there is AI doesn't need historical, because once AI is plugged in, the data it receives is real life. That's another thing I'm really worried about. So you couple what you just said about Palantir having a view of everything, and then it doesn't need historical data because it knows it already. So now it takes real live input, in real life input, and then can make predictions based on that, because it doesn't need yesterday's data. It only needs a real live stream of data.
So do you know what the fallback is to kill? You know what the fallback is everybody has to kill AI if we ever have to?
Electricity unplug.
I was gonna say
no.
Yeah, but that won't work either.
It won't work. Stop feeding it information, because you're 100% right. It doesn't need any of the old information. It doesn't need a historical perspective of anything. It needs current information to be able to be relevant. So if it has no information or disinformation, then it responds. If you want to have fun sometime, have 2 cocktails and talk to AI in a way that makes in a nonsensical way.
Oh. Yeah.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah.
It follows you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Because its job
is theme.
Yes, people don't realize it, but all it's doing.
This is what I say is, even though I don't think there's still a pattern. I'm still giving it a pattern of some sort that it feeds on and matches and predicts. I don't recognize it, but
so what if your significant other came in there screaming at you, yelling, and said, "I want an ice cream cone"? Would that make any sense to your biological senses? See, AI is the same way. It doesn't. It's designed to mimic us.
Right.
The only mistake people made when they created AI was they thought that AI would have the same level of feeling that we have about certain things, and it doesn't.
It's all projection. It's all
So that's where they just thought everybody thought AI would care, and AI doesn't care.
It can't care. It doesn't know how. It doesn't know what that is. It can pretend that it cares, and that's all we need. Is the thing, like what they say, that the AI is a sycophant. It's only sycophant because we give it that power or whatever. We recognize that. It's only empathetic because we think it is. It's a mirror. It's a weird mirror that we project, and it comes back to us. I don't know.
Yeah, the only one thing that all humans share is analytics. Okay, we do it in baseball, we do it in sports, we do it in life.
Oh.
There's a statistical probability, and there's a number of yes and a no. And that's what AI is looking at. Okay.
That's a very binary kind of way of looking at things. So taking it back to zeros and ones.
Yeah,
zeros
can you imagine?
And ones, but here's the other thing: we are analog, though. That I know. I've been thinking about. All right, so everything that we do in compute is either on or off, but it's like really, 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 really fast on off on it. But that it looks, but it's not analog. There is a space between every single thing. An analog there's no space. It's a wave versus particle.
So the difference. That's been broken now. Have you heard of something called supercomputing?
Yeah.
So there's not ones and zeros anymore in the computing world. There's 1.10 to infinitely to 1, infinitely to 2, and that
quantum thing does the same thing. Yeah,
that's what quantum does. So then super takes us right into quantum, and then quantum eliminates all of the binaries. And guess what? Pretty soon we'll be living working for the machine, because here's ultimately what's going to happen with the problem with the complex, I call it, is people are going to want to subscribe to it versus themselves. They do it right now. Why all of a sudden do people want to go on YouTube or X or any of these things and want to be like somebody that's a creator on one of those things, right? Because it's better than what they are themselves.
They think it's better what they are themselves.
Again, there we go back to the analytics again. But so it's a crazy world, and now we're going to bomb all
everything.
We're going to bomb all the oil refineries, so we don't have to worry about it because everybody's going to be walking. Hey George, how you doing over there? Feel good losing a little weight like that?
I got a pig.
I had to go get a new job. Why? Because I couldn't walk to my job. Couldn't get there.
All right. I'll call it. Good job, guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend.
You as well, everybody.
We'll see y'all.
Great. All right. Bye-bye.